Hey everyone, welcome to Judging for the Win. I'm Dave, and this is my daily ruling. Amy controls Jodah, Archmage Eternal, and she wants to flashback Volley of Boulders for Wooburg. Can she? So the answer to this question is unfortunately no, you cannot. The reason is because Jodah's ability gives you a way to cast the spell for an alternate cost. Now, the thing about alternate costs is you can only pay one alternate cost for each spell you're casting. You cannot combine them. Now, ordinarily, you, of course, cannot play spells from your graveyard unless you have some sort of special permission to do so. Flashback would give you that permission, but that would entail paying the flashback cost. If you're paying the flashback cost, that means you cannot be paying the alternate cost with Jodah, and so therefore you would not be able to make this play as described. Well, that's no fun. You know what else isn't fun? Thalia, taxing all your stuff. So what if we had a Cinderstorm that we wanted to play while your opponent had Thalia out? If we had Jodah, could we use Wooburg as the cost to cast the spell without having to pay the one extra from Thalia? And unfortunately, the answer to this one is no also. Don't get me wrong, Jodah hates taxation without representation, but she's not going to be able to help us get some illegal fireworks in here without paying the appropriate taxes. The reason is because if you have an alternate cost that you're paying, you are not able to use the alternate cost to cover any additional costs that that spell might have. Thalia has an additional cost, which means that Jodah is not going to be able to help us pay that one. This is the same reason why Jodah does not synergize particularly well with stuff like Kicker or Buyback, or even stuff that says on the card that it's an additional cost. If you are paying an alternate cost, you could take care of the whole mana cost that way, but you would still be on the hook for any other additional costs that the spell might have. And so that's the reason why this one doesn't work either. Alright, so we're 0 for 2. But let's try something else. What if we had a blaze? We could make a really big blaze with Jodah out, right? Since we don't have any X in the alternate cost that we're paying, we could choose X to be whatever number we want, and maybe blaze our opponent for 1,000,000. Sounds like a great idea. Unfortunately, this one doesn't work either. The reason is because if you're using an alternate cost to cast some spell that has X in its mana cost, ordinarily, you're only going to be able to choose the 0 value for the X in that case. That CR rule was obviously created to stop people from doing stuff like this, which would of course be pretty unbalanced. Now, I was of course very upset that none of these 3 examples that I thought of would work, and I needed to find one that would. And here's what I came up with: Radiant Flames. Let's say we wanted to cast Radiant Flames, but 3 damage wasn't quite enough, and we needed a few more. So if we used Radiant Flames and cast it with the alternate cost that Jodah gives us the ability to do, then we could use 5 damage to everything instead of just 3. That's because this spell will see that we indeed did pay 5 mana, 1 of each color, in order to cast it. The game doesn't really care that we're not paying it for its normal cost, it only looks at the mana that we spent to actually cast the spell, which we in fact did, and we used all 5 colors to do it. So we would be able to deal 5 damage to everything, including Jodah. Remember everyone, be careful whenever you're handling fireworks. And that's all I have for you today. How did you do? Join me again tomorrow for another daily ruling, but until then, I hope you have a great day.